Welcome to Her Movement podcast, the show where we empower women entrepreneurs to build their own movement and create a bigger impact in the world. I'm your host, Preeti Singh Rajput, and I'm beyond excited to have you join me on this exhilarating journey. In each episode, we dive deep into the inspiring stories of remarkable women entrepreneurs. We'll explore their successes, their struggles, and the pivotal moments that shaped their journey. This podcast is a platform for real and raw conversations. Sharing our stories is empowering and instrumental in inspiring others to step into their greatness. From overcoming challenges to celebrating triumphs, our guests will take you on a transformative journey through their experiences. Join us as we delve into topics such as building a loyal community, creating your own movement with your own experience, growing your business with impact, and so much more. Our guests are trailblazers in their respective niches, and they are ready to share their wisdom, insights, and actionable tips that you can implement in your own business and life. Whether you are just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, Her Movement podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration, guidance, and real-world strategies that truly work. So grab a cup of coffee, tune in, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Get ready to ignite your passion, elevate your mindset, and build your own movement. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome to Her Movement podcast. And thank you so much for taking out your time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Preeti.
How are you doing today?
Really good. It's a beautiful day here in Australia.
Awesome. So, Jennifer, what movement are you building with your business? I have seen your work. I know all about your work. And I know that your business has a mission and a purpose too. Can you share that movement with us?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure is all mine.
So what I do is I help high functioning women who experience the busy, the overwhelm, and the exhaustion, especially if they are caregivers of children with additional needs, to thrive in their environment.
Yeah, and this is so important because there are just so many things we as women are juggling with, and there is always this level of stress and anxiety and what's not that we actually go through, and we're so caught up that we don't really understand at times how to get the support around it. So Jennifer, before we go deeper into how you can help us and my audience here, take us into your story, your journey, and what you have experienced and how you became an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Wow. I can't believe it's been already 3 years that I have been in this space. So I started my career as a social worker and experienced a lot of burnout, exhaustion, and I was leaving my children off at daycare around 6 in the morning. And so that was really exhausting. So I needed to do something that aligned to me, but it was actually the fear that was stopped me from doing what I truly wanted for many years. And so the whispers of the universe was always telling me that there was something else. But I was so stuck in fear until one day my higher self told me to quit, literally. And then I've been supporting women ever since.
Wow, amazing. And what kind of burnout and feelings you had when you used to, leave your children in the daycare? It's very important that we start talking about these feelings and emotions that we actually go through as mothers.
I think motherhood is incredibly romanticized in the modern world. Women have this expectation that they have to go out, get a career, but also be these kind nurturers. It's in constant conflict. We never feel enough, worthy, good enough. And so I experienced my own mental health experience, but I was also having my own physical health issues. And so leaving my children there was really, really difficult for me. And yeah, I had to make the decision to be more in alignment, to find something that I wasn't going to burn out and that I had my time
And
back.
how did you navigate through this whole process, feeling anxious, feeling guilty? And I've been there. I have worked in corporate for 12 long years. I understand how it actually feels to leave everything behind, especially your children, and then go for work. And there is nothing wrong if that's exactly what you want to do. But if it doesn't align with you, then we definitely need to talk more about it and figure out a way around that, because that somewhere definitely kills us, every single day.
So I was actually doing social work. So that can be a very high demanding work. You're giving a lot to everyone else, which can make you feel quite depleted at times, especially if you are a people pleaser. So you're always seeking that extra measure to go over and beyond, which can just make you feel burnt out. And for me and my personal experience, I had to experience that and to understand that this doesn't have to be the only way to earn a living, relationships with your children, and to also create the life you deserve.
And you just talked about people pleasure. And as women, we end up living for others almost all of our lives. How do you suggest that we can actually balance both the things, taking care of our own self and who we can become? And of course, nurturing and serving is a part of who we are. So that's something that we cannot take out from our, personality as women.
I think a lot of women do struggle. We have so much burden, and people pleasing is something that we've been conditioned from childhood. We feel incredibly great when someone says, "That's amazing. I don't know how you do it." And so we're always seeking this external validation from others. The problem is we're always seeking from others and not learning to actually look within ourselves for that validation. It's just a cycle of going around and around and around. And that's something that I teach my clients, but I've had to go through this on different particular levels. I'm also a caregiver. I've got a child with additional needs. So that can mean that I can be over and beyond with caring and boundaries. And the more that I look after my central nervous system,
can you explain a little bit more around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're in a highly stressed state and we're feeling overwhelmed, which is sometimes part of the human experience, the child brain mimics the adult brain. We can't always have our, stuff together, especially when we're highly stressed. The more we do those little routines, rituals, practices, even if they're 5 minutes, they can lead us to feeling better and thriving.
Yeah, and a lot of your work is around women, feeling anxiety and those negative thoughts throughout their day, and how they are being challenged, every single day with these emotions. So how do you help your clients, navigate through these challenges, these feelings? How do they? And it's easy to say that don't feel that anxiety, or remove those negative thoughts with the positive thoughts and things like that. But when you are actually in a situation, you just need those practical tools that can help you come out of it. Because even inside that it's not good. Even you don't want it from inside. Nobody wants to feel anxiety or negative feeling or anything, any feeling that's not positive or not good. So how do you suggest, what are those tools that they can use to actually come out of it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, thinking positively doesn't actually work. You have to understand why you're thinking that way. What are the impacts? Why the impacts, the influences, the environment in which you're exposing yourself to every day that may be contributing to your story of busy and overwhelmed. So it's basically rewiring your experience with busy and overwhelmed. It's learning how to thrive by doing practices and rituals that are going to optimize your well-being and your mental health. And I also use Ayurveda. So for someone who experiences a very overactive, busy, anxious mind. It's using those practices in modern day life. So it's really easy to integrate and it can change people's life. Like anything, it's a practice. You have to keep doing it every day.
Conversation help in all
Yeah.
of this. If you're feeling anxious, most of the time our society has conditioned it in a way where when women sit down with, whether women are sitting together or they're sitting with men or families, it's more about showing, how well you are, how everything is just fine, and going through all those emotions all alone, So how does a conversation, you talk about it in your work, and I know about that, normalizing to have a conversation around your anxiety and whatever it is that you're going through.
Conversations are the key. I'm very big into normalizing the experience and journey that I go through, especially as a caregiver. I don't always know what my future and my child's future is going to look like. So the more that I make conversation, the more that I bring it to other people's awareness, the more that I bring it into normalizing that this is my journey. It's normal to feel these thoughts, feelings. It validates someone else's journey and experience it. So then we're giving people the awareness that they're not alone and they're not isolated and that they can have support. Yeah, so that's how it's really important to bring that conversation to the forefront. And that's what I do in my social media. And I have conversations with people. And it's being vulnerable. It's not showing always the beautiful side. This is my journey today. And this is what I'm experiencing today.
But where to get that courage from? Because a lot of us, we don't really have that courage to actually initiate such conversations. They're difficult, and sometimes you are afraid of being judged and being, looked down, or anything. You never know how the other people are going to react to this.
That is true. And that's why it's finding people who you feel safe with in having those conversations and a community of like-minded people.
All right. And how about, when you find this, community and these people, what is the right approach for people to actually start having a conversation?
Everyone's journey is going to be very different, but it's just starting. It's having the courage to just say, I need help.
There's this big stigma around it.
Yeah. Having a child with additional needs, I sometimes do feel really isolated and alone. And when I start having conversations with other mums, parents, service providers about my journey, they share their journey and I instantly don't feel alone. They normalize it and they even share how far their child has come. It's like I'm getting a bit emotional because it's just so important for people to understand that you are the only person who knows your story better than anyone, and you sharing your story can change someone's life.
Right. And a lot of us, we all have, these challenges on a personal level, and we do have some aspirations as well for ourselves. We want to build a thriving business for ourselves. We want to be financially independent. We want to, do other stuff as well. And, sometimes it might just be a lot for us to kind of, and a lot of us, we actually put our dreams and our desires on the back burner when it comes to, such challenges. And if your family needs you, how do you suggest, that we can still take care of ourselves while, thriving in the personal life and serving others in our lives?
So I actually had to change my whole business structure because it didn't work for me and my family. So I have now a membership model. So I can literally help thousands of women, and busy women can be watching the training in a train, going to work, going for a walk. They might listen to it and they can just do it in bite-sized pieces. So for me, I had no choice but to change how I actually did business. And that's the beautiful thing about business or just life. You get to choose. And if something keeps feeling like it's not working, maybe there's a better solution for you so that you can have more time with your family, but also enjoy life. I don't want to be sitting at my computer for 8 hours. I don't want to be on 100 platforms. I don't want to be burning myself out. So that's how I choose to do business and life.
Right. So it's more about having the courage to make your own choices while you're going through all of these things.
Absolutely. And you can design it to your mental health, doing more of the things that you love and that bring joy, and basically have the tools accessible to you so you can navigate those choppy
what
waters.
tools are you talking about here, Jennifer?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I use a wide range of tools. As I said earlier, I use Ayurveda. I also use NLP, but I also use my background as a social work, understanding human behavior, psychology. What works for one person may not for another. So it's having a wide range of different tools, and that's what I call them, tools, for different situations that can literally change someone's life.
And how to actually understand what to choose and what's going to work. It's more about then we need to kind of, look into everything first, right?
So for people who are listening right now and they're going, well, I don't know which tool to use, and we can get too stuck into the tool. I think it's, for me, I use the term tool. So when I was doing social work, we would have tools, our toolkit. And so when people can gain more awareness about their situation, they know how to navigate a difficult conversation, for example, or when someone gives you bad feedback, or what's actually a routine or a ritual, or how to do breath work, or what's meditation. So these are tools to optimize your well-being, your mental health. And we notice when we stop doing these activities, that's when our mental health may deteriorate. We experience more overwhelm, anxiety. So it's the little things and the habits that we do that make us feel better.
Yeah, and it all kind of comes from being self-aware of what you are going through and then analyzing what's going to probably work for you.
Awareness is the key. When we have awareness about what's happening, what our story is, how we're feeling in particular times of the month, our energy, our mental health, then we can see the patterns and we can create the change.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, seeing how you feel throughout the month, because that does change in certain scenarios. And I feel, the same about myself as well. So how to actually, understand those patterns?
It's, for example, like we're more optimal maybe when we are, for example, ovulating, or we might be more optimal in the morning or in the afternoon. So what I mean is that you might be noticing that you feel more anxious around certain times of the month. Maybe that's when you're due for your period, or it could be when you have a certain interaction with a person, you're dreading going to work. You don't know subconsciously what's happening until you create the awareness. And so my key to your listeners is just to start noticing and start to be aware, and maybe tracking about when you do feel good, what are you doing? How are you noticing your thoughts? Who are you surrounding yourself? When you're feeling more anxious or overwhelmed, what are you not doing? What are you focusing on, right? So when we can start getting all the data, we can then go, I can see a pattern now. And then you can go and seek a medical person, a counselor. You can find out where the problem lies and then go seek.
That's interesting, because if we know that there are certain patterns and we behave certain way, and it's a really good thing that you're telling us to go for a month and see how you behave during that month, because it really helps. You get enough time to understand your behavior and your patterns, and then accordingly you can decide what's the time when you want to do certain things. If you're feeling energetic during certain period of time, you can probably schedule your day accordingly. And if you know that you're going to feel low during few days of the month, you can design your day accordingly and not feel anxious about it.
Absolutely. And you may be someone who doesn't want to sit at their desk for 8 hours. You get very distracted. So you create and design work when you're more optimal and bite-sized pieces. So a lot of women are caught in the busy story, especially in modern world, that we feel we have to do lots. We have to be busy. It's a badge of honor. You ask people and you say, what have you been doing? Oh, I'm so busy. It's changing how we approach busy. What is busy giving us? When I talk to so many of my friends, clients, they are so stuck in creating more work. And you see it in entrepreneur world. And the more you do, the more you have to keep up with that momentum, which is busy work. But we can learn how to be more focused, productive, and we need to know how we thrive in our environment. Do we need to work for, say, 20 minutes at a time, have a break, work less, and be laser focused? And this is something that I'm working every day consciously. I'm not someone who's like, right, I can focus completely on this. I get distracted. Then I remember, oh my gosh, I've got to go and do this. So I've got to train my brain every day. There's a better way of doing life. And every time I get distracted, that's my cue to go and put the kettle on. I talk about like a 10-minute holiday and just do something else. Change my state, change my environment, and I need a break.
Yeah, and does scheduling help into this, process when you feel distracted and you know that there are certain things that need to get done and you get distracted while you're doing it? Does scheduling work, or it's an overwhelm all over again for you?
I think to-do lists can create more busy work. So rather than going, oh gosh, I've got to do 20 things today, maybe focus on 2 or 3 activities in a day of main activities. Now, this sounds something that may be resistance within yourself, because you might be like, I'm running a business. I can't do 2 things. But let's be honest, most tasks have 20 items that you have to do in part of that. So it's been more realistic with your to-do list. And when you've done those 2 main activity, then move on to the next.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense, because then I think when we go this way, we also feel the sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely. How good does it feel ticking it off?
That's, these small things we just overlook because we're so engrossed in our own work, in our own way of doing things as well at times. And we don't really understand, but then it does help, because if you have 3 things that you have to do in the whole day, and you do that, and you really feel proud of yourself, instead of sitting there and feeling like you didn't do anything because there are just so many things in your list.
Yes. And it's also remembering that those things you keep putting off, learning how to prioritize on a particular day. And then when you do that, then you can do something else. Because so many of our tasks, we just keep putting off because we don't enjoy it, we don't like it. It could be taxes, invoicing, budgeting. I'm sure there's something that people keep putting off. So maybe having one particular day, you do these undesired activities and get them off your list. And you know what? They are quicker than you think.
What do you mean by quicker? Yeah. I mean, you don't enjoy that, right? So,
Well, a lot of the time you're procrastinating. You think they're going to take longer, so you don't do it. But when you designate that time, that laser focused time, you might be able to get it done in 10 minutes. And you've been putting off this activity all month. And you're like, oh, I feel really good now. And you've got that sense of achievement. Then you would go on to the next.
And maybe, item. This is a way to kind of feel okay about some certain things that you don't like in your business.
Absolutely. There's always going to be things we don't like in our business, or, that we just don't enjoy. And that's just part of it. So we can delegate those tasks, or just set one day and just get it off.
That's pretty helpful.
Off the list.
That's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Jennifer, before we wind up this conversation, I just want you to give us 3 tips. Okay. Simple 3 tips to start our journey of dealing with these, emotions. And I know that it's never easy, even when we start working on ourselves, even when we start, understanding that these are the things we are going through, it is still is going to be a journey, right? But if I have to ask you that, where shall I begin? What are those three things or three practices? If I can start doing, I'll be more aware. I will be, able to understand what should be my next step in order to deal with this. So if I have to ask you those three, tips, what will it be? Not more than tips. It's more like, what's the starting point?
Yeah. Start exactly where you are. Don't wait for tomorrow because it never comes. And remembering that habits take 60 days and it can take over 3 months for an embedded lifestyle change. So something that helps me is waking up before the household, and I will do my breath work for 5-10 minutes, and that's going to support me during the day. But everyone has to find what works for them. So for me, it's breath work, but it's definitely finding a ritual or routine that you enjoy and that's going to start you up for the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good. And Jennifer, if somebody wants to work with you, they loved what you're talking about, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So at the moment, I've got a free mini course designed for busy women. So that's my free offering for people, and it's bite-sized pieces. So perfect. And I've also got a membership, Chaos to Calm, and people can start to learn their busy story, learn different ways to support their central nervous system, and use some Ayurveda as well.
Awesome. And you have any one-on-one programs or group programs as well? Not yet.
No.
Okay.
No.
That doesn't
Just the
support
membership.
your lifestyle.
No, I've
Not
done
right
that.
now. And this is so beautiful. Like, anybody who is listening to this and who's watching you can have that choice and can, feel that, okay, if there are certain things that are, everybody in the industry is doing, but it isn't working for me, they can still make the choice and design it their own way.
Absolutely. You don't have to listen to a mentor or a guru. You do it your way.
Definitely. I so agree to that. Having a mentor and a guru doesn't mean that we have to do exactly how they did things in their business. It's more about getting the inspiration from them and right direction in whatever we decide to do in our business. It's more around that. And, having them around has always helped me. Especially, any coaches, people who are expert in their field. It always helps, but at the same time, it's extremely important for us to understand where we want to head as such. Where is our destination, where we want to go. It's extremely important. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking out your time and sharing all the valuable information with my audience. And I truly appreciate whatever wisdom that you have just shared here with my audience.
Thank you for having me.